Hi, I'm Frankie, and in this video, I'll show you how you can set up hybrid search in your Azure AI Search resource. We'll do this by adding vectorization in the Azure portal to an existing resource that's currently only using keyword search. Now, just before we dive in, let's go over a couple definitions. For example, what is a vector? A vector is just a list of numbers that represents something that computers can understand. So if we have a list of numbers in all of these different matrices, we would call them a vector. And it's just got all these different points that might be different dimensions to represent something. If we put something on a plane, say it's two-dimensional, say it only has an X and a Y point in the dimensions, we could put it on here and have 4 data points on an X and Y axes. An embedding is just a special kind of vector. It's a vector that has some sort of meaning or features that are captured within the numbers to represent something. So we might have a multi-dimensional vector that has lots of different dimensions that represents, for example, a man, woman, queen, king. And in those dimensions is the meaning of how a man relates to a woman or a queen relates to a king. And all of those play a factor into how the vector is created. And then later, how the vectors relate to one another. So the distance between them in vector space is then what's used to create the determination by something like Azure AI Search as to how close they are in vector space to then rank them when it comes to search results that use vector queries, where vector queries are querying for embeddings. So in the AI world, you're going to hear vector embeddings or embedding vectors, and it's the same thing. When you hear a vector, though, or the term embedding, know that an embedding is just a special kind of vector. Now, that being said, let's add vectors to our AI search resource. Now, because we're doing this in the portal, the first thing we need to do is enable managed identity for our AI search resource. So we'll come down to identity under settings, and we'll turn on system assigned identity. Next, let's create an Azure AI Foundry instance. So we'll come to our resource group, create. We'll search AI Foundry. We'll create a new Azure AI Foundry resource. This will create a new resource with one project underneath it. Call it AIF for Azure AI Foundry, AIS, East to US to Demo AI Search. We'll make this first project called Proj, AIS, East US to Demo AI Search. Next, we'll leave all the networks open. We'll make sure to use system assigned identity. We'll leave the encryption, no tags, and we'll create this. Once this is done being created, we'll create a couple role assignments for our Azure AI Search managed identity so that it can have access to the AI Foundry resource and also the Azure Blob Storage resource. It's done being completed. Let's create those role assignments now. I'll go to Access Control. I can see in role assignments there's no role for my managed identity. Let's go to Add a new role assignment. The role assignment I'm going to add is the Cognitive Services OpenAI user role. This will let our managed identity access our embedding model. Find our search service, review and assign it. Next, let's make a role assignment for the Azure Blob Storage. Back to our resource group. Let's go to our storage account and make a role assignment in here. Go to access control, role assignments. We also see no managed identity role assignment. Add new role assignment. And for this one, it's going to be the blob data contributor role. Review and assign, yes. Now the next thing we'll need to do is create an embedding model deployment that will actually vectorize the data both by our index and also when people make queries, and we need to vectorize those queries to then compare to our vectorized data so that then a query can do the cosine similarity and send back a response. Back in our resource group, let's go to our Azure AI Foundry resource, which will take us to Go Azure AI Foundry. You can also type in ai.azure.com. Now we're already within the project, and in this project, we'll go to models and deployment, models and endpoints. Then we'll deploy a model. And there's lots of models that are available to choose from. We're going to filter on the top here to filter for embeddings. Now these are all models that can now convert text into vector embeddings. These are our options. Text embedding, this is a balanced one that is, works well, decent price, decent quality and performance. These are the two newer versions that OpenAI has available. Large is more expensive but better performance. Small is cheaper but faster. We're going to use small for now. I'm less familiar with the Cohere models, but you could take a look at those if you'd like as well. And we'll call this Frankie's Bakery because that is the name of the fictional company that I have put together for demos where we sell cookies, bakeries, brownies, all kinds of things. Now this deployment is done. Keep this page up, this tab up, because we're going to need the endpoint, the model name, and the deployment, plus this key in just a moment. Now let's go back to our AI search resource, where we're actually going to add in our vector field. So we'll go to our index, full text search, go to fields, add a field. This field we'll call content vector. We'll change the type to be a collection of single, which is what will store all of our numeric vector. Now the dimensions of the vector is how much data can be stored for that vector, how many numbers, different dimensions, in order to make your vector store the meaning of words. The dimensions I'm going to use is based on this documentation that lists the supported dimensions for models. Since we're using the text embedding 3 small model, our maximum dimensions is 1536, which is what we're going to use for our dimensions. Now we need to choose a search profile, which will have an algorithm and a vectorizer in it. We'll create a new one since there isn't one that exists within this AI search resource. We'll call it my vector profile, and then we need to create a vectorizer and an algorithm. This algorithm will use the basic kind of HNSW, stands for hierarchical numeric search, something like that. It's the most standard, newer version of a vector algorithm. There's also this KNN, which is another older version. It's not used quite as often. We'll call this my vector algo, and we'll leave these other defaults. So that's our algorithm. Now let's create our vectorizer. My vectorizer, this is where it's going to be important to connect to our embedding that we just created. The kind is not going to be OpenAI, it's going to be Azure AI Foundry. And we're going to keep our existing subscription, choose our project that we just created, our model deployment. In this part, usually I would assume that the system assigned managed identity would work, but this has been a little bit buggy and it's forced me to always choose the API keys. So there might be something we're missing here. This might be a bug. I haven't dug into this enough, but we're just going to move forward and use the API key in that particular setting. We won't use a compression here. So now our index field that we're going to add for our vector is set. We'll save this. Now we see it here on the bottom. Now, because we added this and there's no skill set and the indexer hasn't run, this should break our index, meaning we won't be able to query now. If I go to Search Explorer and I try searching, we won't get back any content, when before we would have. So, because of this, we need to now update our indexer and create a skill set. So let's go back to our search resource. We'll go to skill sets. Let's add in a skill set. I have some existing code that I'll paste in here, which is the JSON for the skill set. You can get this info on the screen, or you can get the file in the Azure Innovation Station online community. There's a link to join, and it's free in the description. So in this skill set, we have the description, the name, and there's two types of skills. There's first this merge skill, which takes information from the description and the tags and adds them together to create a combined text field. This field is then what we're going to turn into a vector, so that when people are making vector queries, they're really going to be searching through text that is in this combined text field. That combined text field then will go into this second skill, which is the AI embedding skill. So this is where we need to put in some information in order to actually make this embedding work. So we'll go to our AI Foundry. Let's put in this resource, the endpoint, the deployment name, and the name of the model itself that we're using. Now what's happening with this embedding is that we're creating a vector embedding from the input of this combined text that was created from this merge text skill. And we're taking that combined text and we're creating an output of an embedding, which we're naming embedding, we're putting into a target field named embedding, which will map to our content vector field in the indexer. And then finally, we need to put in our key to make sure that we can use this Azure AI Foundry resource. So let's go to our key, copy that, and we'll paste this in here. Then we'll save our skill set. Now we'll go to our indexer, and let's update our indexer. We'll open up the JSON, and we just need to add an output mapping for our embedding skill to take the vector embedding from the embedding field and place it into the content vector. This is an output field because after the skill set runs, this is what needs to be outputted into the index. We'll save this, and we should be good to go. Now, if I reset my indexer, I can refresh and see that the reset worked. I can now run my indexer again. And see that my indexer has run. It's successful. All these documents have been succeeded. Now let's go in to our index. We should be able to search again and get information back. We're not getting info. You know what? I realized I need to add our skill set to our indexer. Otherwise, our indexer has no idea what this skill set is. So let's copy this and go back to our indexer. Edit the JSON, and at the top, we see Skillset null. Let's make sure that we add that in here. Now our indexer actually knows what Skillset to use to create the embeddings, so this can work properly. Let's try this again. We'll reset this. Refresh. Run again. Refresh. Oh, we need to fix the embeddings. I think my pre-created code from the Skillset had actually a different vector embedding number. It did. Let's make sure we update that. You're seeing the way people debug these AI solutions in the middle of this. Now we should be good. Let's run our indexer again. Now it succeeded. Now let's see if we can query our index. And see, now we see we get our content back along with our content vector, with all these numbers being the vector. If this is too much and you don't want to see all this, you can always turn off the content vector and save this. Now, if we wanted, we could search using vector queries, searching something like, cookie, ask for a few items back. And see some of our outputs where now the vector queries are working to add more semantic similarity, not just keyword search, to our AI search resource. We have a new index with a vector content field. We have a skill set that's added to create embeddings, and we have an updated indexer. If you have any questions, please leave in the comments below. I answer every question to help as many people as I can. If this video was helpful for you, please like it and subscribe to this channel if you want to see more content like this. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.